Hello, hello. Happy day 7. Okay, so, day 7, first day on Pranic Energy. As you can see clearly, I'm in my bike gear. I'm here with my lovely bike because my body needed to move. It's really interesting because when we lighten our nourishment, like the densities of it, right? So when we go from a there's a scale, right? There's a scale of food, of nourishment, of nutrition. And when we start to lighten it and our body starts to clear, what starts to occur really is that we end up having a lot of energy. I got some really great questions yesterday. Let's take this off. Got some really great questions yesterday, which I really want to answer, about whether you get like a dry mouth and stuff like that when you're moving onto prana, or when you're moving onto no food, no water. And it's really interesting. It's so bright out here. The sky's like, one of my friends in books, he used to say it's dark bright, like when the sun is like right behind the clouds and you're kind of squinting, like, oh, I'm gonna do this. So, yeah, okay, let's get back to it. So when we start to get lighter forms of nourishment in us, we start to have a lot of fire in us, right? When you're juicing, you are still having, even though it's all liquid, there is still lots of components in the juice, right? There's still lots of components in the juice. So you're kind of working with earth and clearing the earth out. You're working with water and cleansing the water element. When you move on to water fasting, that's what you're doing. You're working with water. You are clearing the water element. When you work with prana, or natural state, as one of my Breatharian friends calls it, which is a beautiful phrase, natural state. When you're working with natural state, or no food, no water, you're nourishing from other things, you end up having such a high amount of energy and a large amount of fire, really, because you're working with the element of fire. When you're living pranically, you're working with the element of fire, and that fire is going to purge and clear and cleanse, and it's going to purify the waters more so than a water fast will do. It's going to purify those waters, it's going to purify your earth, it's going to purify all these parts of you. But in so doing, this fire rises, and if we don't know what to do with it, we go a bit stir crazy. It can go up to the mind and it goes a bit stir crazy, and we see this happen day in, day out, where people are just spending so much time in their mind. And I awoke today and I had quite a really interesting sleep, a sleep that's not usual for me for that part of a process. So let me explain. I was still drinking water yesterday, but we are at an eclipse. We're at a solar eclipse, very powerful energy, and I was awake so long last night. I was in bed, and the amount of fire that was in me wasn't the usual amount for a water fast. So I found it fascinating. So I know that, that's not normal. That's not normally what happens at this point. It felt like I was already on day 3 of a solar fast, of a solar feast. That's what it felt like. I was laying in bed with all this heat and all this fire energy moving through me. I'm going, oh, this is really hot. Because when you're not consuming solid foods, liquids, your body temperature does some really interesting things. Like when we eat food, heat occurs, right? Heat rises. Hello, sunshine. The sun's just come out from the clouds. When we eat food, it's an exothermic response in the body, right? The body is breaking everything down, and and heat is produced, right? So normally other parts of your body might be cold, but the stomach, where the food is being digested, is warm. Now, when you're drinking just liquids, especially liquids that haven't got a lot of sugars or starches or sodiums and things like that in, then that kind of acts like a coolant. It can cool your body down. Your body is cooling itself because of all the liquid that you're putting in. When you move on to solar, or when you move on to a dry fast, your body is now burning away whatever parts of the DNA is malfunctioning, whatever memory is false and illusion based, all these things it burns away. So it's a lot of exothermic response. So your body does get usually quite warm. I've only ever experienced the opposite once, and that was my first Breatharian retreat that I did about 2 years ago now. Nearly 2 years ago now. And it was the middle of winter. It was sub-zero. I was in a yurt for it. And I didn't clear my body properly. I didn't prepare. Ooh. It's very windy today, so filming this outside might not be the best thing to do. We'll see. So when you don't prepare your body and there's lots of extra things, we'll see what this wind does. When you don't prepare your body, and you've still got stuff going on in your intestines, your colon and things like that, it makes it really hard because you've got all this toxic waste in you when you're going dry. That's not good. So I experienced a lot of stuff in that first one, and I speak about it more in the last video series I did about this in June. But it's really interesting because, you know, you get very warm, and that's good in a way because, you know, you don't have to worry about putting the heating on if it's like kind of, you know, autumn or winter or anything like that. But at the same time, all that energy, that heat energy, is it activates and it clears, especially the solar plexus. Energetically, it's clearing and ascending the solar plexus. And this is where all our will and our drive comes from. So, you know, you're going to have all this extra energy, and it's really creative if you let it be, but you got to be able to put it into action, right, in a good way. And that's that can be challenging sometimes. So when I finally got to sleep, I woke up in the middle of the morning. I slept in quite a bit, actually. I slept in quite a bit, and I woke up feeling a little bit disorientated just because my sleep pattern was so off. And once again, that wasn't from the fast. That was just from the energies of the cosmos, really. Because, like I say, I never have that response. But it was really interesting. I woke up and I was a bit like, ooh. And I was like, I need to get outside. I need to move my body. And I'm like, okay, what do I need to do? I'm gonna ride the bike. I'm gonna ride my bicycle. I'm gonna get out. It was really windy. It's been really storming overnight here. And I was like, I'm gonna get out in the elements. The wind, the sun, the rain. It's not gonna know what it's doing, and that's okay. So here I am outside, and that energy, I can still feel that fire, even though I'm like, I've not really been fasting for long from water. It's not really like a lot of people do this, right? You know, you wake up, you know, you wake up after having fasted all night because you're asleep, right? You don't need food or liquid when you're asleep. And then a lot of people do this if they haven't eaten or drinking yet. So this is like this is normal, but it's just interesting what I'm feeling right now. And I do attribute it to the cosmic energies. But yeah, someone asked a really cool question, like, does your mouth get dry? And that's a really good question. So the whole purpose of doing a longer dry fast for me is to help my body remember its natural state, to help my body hold light and remember what it can do when we don't interfere. And what I mean by that is the air is full of water, like all around us, the air is full of water, right? Your body is drinking it in. You know, over the next 3 days, I'm still going to need to urinate because my body is going to be drinking in the water, you know, from the air. Anytime I have a shower or anything like that, that water is being absorbed. Still, it's being absorbed. So even though we're not drinking to satiate thirst is only in the mind anyway. We are a complete ecosystem. Right, we've spoke about this before, we're a complete ecosystem. And when we allow our body to break through the limiting beliefs that tells us that's incorrect and that's false, when we break through those limiting beliefs, oh my God, the things that occur within your body are just incredible. The clarity that your mind can have is incredible. The clarity of your channel becomes incredible. You're really anchoring the light in. You're embodying the work. You're embodying it. And that's my belief anyway. You know, you might disagree, but that's my belief. And yes, you know, thoughts will populate my mind every now and then where I'll be like, oh, I could just eat, you know, this and this, or oh, that would be, I'm looking forward to having chocolate at some point, or, you know, I'm looking forward to, you know, having some really flavorful things at some point whenever my body is ready for it. But does my mouth get dry? My mouth only gets dry if I'm brushing my teeth. If I put water in my mouth and spit it out again. That is not a good plan. I've learned that every time I've done a Breatharian weekend. Your mouth does not get dry until your lips or your tongue has water upon it. And when when that happens, it's almost as though the body is getting a bit confused, because like the stomach starts to go, oh, this is exciting, she's gonna drink something. You know, everything's back to normal, back to comfort zone, back to what we know. And that's not really the case. So it's funny because like I have an ionic toothbrush. So an ionic toothbrush reverses the charge. So it takes everything off your teeth so that it doesn't magnetize plaque and things like that. So you don't need to really, you know, have toothpaste or anything on it. It does the work really well. But if I have too much water in my mouth when I'm brushing my teeth, for example, my stomach will hurt because my stomach's getting ready to hopefully hopefully digest something physical that's going to come in, and then it doesn't get that. So it's I try to avoid as much as possible water going into the mouth, because that is when the mouth will get dry. Your body will create saliva. Once again, it's a complete ecosystem. The body is a complete ecosystem. So just like the rain falls down from the sky, right? The rain falls down from the sky, it fills up our ponds, our puddles, our lakes, our oceans, and then it evaporates and goes back up into the sky. It's a complete ecosystem. There's no scarcity of water, no matter what anyone else say. It's not going anywhere. Where's it going to go? So the thing is, our body doesn't know this in some ways because there is false beliefs stored in our body. This is what the star beings say when we channel the star beings through. The Arcturians, the Orions, they always talk about this. What is being held in the waters of your body. Those waters need to purge and clear in order to release the memory, the electrical currents that are shooting off in wrong directions. You know, polarities need to shift within. It's really interesting because some will wonder, you know, are you going to slow down? Do you slow down at this point? But the truth is that you get so connected. And yes, of course, experiences are different. Every time I do one of these, it's different. You know, by day 3, I might be like, I think I might stop early. You know, who knows? It's one of those things where you never know what's going to come up until it comes up, because the conscious mind can't possibly comprehend it. The conscious mind is waiting to be broken open so that the subconscious waters can clear and the superconscious can come through and birth. But it's so good to be outside. The more that you are fasting or feasting on lighter sources of nutrients, such as, you know, waters or juices or prana itself in its lightest form, the more you're going to need to be outside and connect, because if you're closed in, all the energy that is within you that is releasing as well is going to be bouncing about. So a big part of this for me is like, how much can I get outside? How much can I be doing other things? And how can I be honoring the subtle rhythms of my body and my energy field? So not the rhythms where we think, oh, I'm really tired because of blah, blah, blah. There's multiple layers of knowing the body. And most of us stop at the first layer, where the cravings or the hormones or the chemicals that move through our body, because we're biochemical beings before we're electrical beings before we're biochemical, but biochemical is the layer that we see. Oh, I notice that I'm tired in this part of the day, and I notice that, you know, if I eat then this happens, and oh, I feel really tired when I wake up, and this, but these are responses. That's not how the body actually feels. That's a response of the body saying, I need you to change this so I can feel what I'm meant to feel. Because if we felt something for such a long time, and most of the collective feel those things for such a long time, no one's going to question it. So we've got to curiously question everything. Curiously question, you know? Well, Oak Tree here agrees. We're meant to be joyful beings. Like, that's our true nature, is this high state that's embodied and grounded. It's not neurotic, it's not, you know, unbalanced, it's not anything like that. But, you know, we're so quick to condemn ourselves and others when something is moving through. And this practice here really helps us self-observe. It really helps the self-observation. So, who knows how the next 3 days are going to go? I am going to listen to what is needed. But the really interesting thing is, when you're doing something like this, it is a challenge. It's a big challenge. It's one that goes against the grain of everyone out there, right? It does. Because we're all so deeply believing that we have to eat or drink certain things at certain times, and we can't do it any other way, and it won't suit everyone, and you know, but this actually really is our true state. It's our true natural state. But yes, we're going to miss the food, yes, we're going to miss those things, but don't do it all in one go, you know what I mean? That's why, like, practicing maybe a 24-hour dry fast is really good, because you start to break through the codependency that the body and the hormones in the body, the chemicals in the body, the parasites in the body, the codependency that we have with them. We start to break through those codependencies. And until we experience something where we push our body in this way, push it to its highest capacity, we're not going to break down those walls that we put up in the first place. The ego walls, really, that is living in the body. We're all so very codependent in many ways, and it's this spectrum where we want to move back to this interdependency where we're whole within ourselves, yet so many of us are on medication, so many of us are medicating with food, sedating ourselves with food, and food is not the enemy, not at all. I absolutely adore food. I love the sensations, I love the flavors, I love everything about it. I love the social aspect of it. Right? I love the beauty of it. I love the consciousness of it. But at the same time, we shouldn't need to depend on it. If we choose to eat, eat for pleasure. Know that you are nourished regardless. Eat for pleasure. And when you can start to, in my opinion, when you can start to look at something and go, oh, I don't actually need that. How often do we say, oh, I need to eat or I need to drink? You don't need to eat or drink. You don't need to do this. You don't need to do that. You want to do it under the guise of needing it. You want to do it, but really what is needed is just movement of energy. That's why moving the body is so important. Stillness, meditation, breath work, so important. So it's super interesting. This is, I'm talking quite loudly because I'm hoping to kind of speak over the wind so you can hear this. But really, each to their own, you know, feel into what feels right for you each day. But I'm going to say, if it's your first time either juicing, if it's your first time water fasting, and especially if it's your first time trying a dry fast, only do 24 hours maximum first time, please. But if it's your first time doing it, your mind is going to tell you that you're hungry. Your mind is going to tell you that you need something. Your mind is going to tell your body to feel weak. Your mind controls all of that until we start to control the mind. Your mind controls your body, and the mind is controlled by the collective streams of consciousness that have been imprinted and imbued and created passively around us. Until we consciously start to question everything in our mind and start to curiously question it and just observe any charge that arises, any emotion that arises. We're going to be codependent to the mind. We're going to be under the control of it, right? And that's all this is, really. So the body, just to go really like loop it back, the body will produce its own saliva. It'll do it itself. It'll keep everything going as it's meant to, because it's a complete ecosystem. As soon as we start to introduce something external, that is when the mouth will go dry. Right? That's when the mouth goes dry. I don't know whether I'll do 3 days of this. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. I've never done a 3-day dry fast with so much activity, and it's a very full month for me, so I am going to be really conscientious this time round, because I'm out all day tomorrow, which might be a good thing, but if I also need to make sure that I maintain my balance. That's something that this past year I've really worked well with, is maintaining a balance for what my energy field needs, and what we all need really, but you know, when to work, when to not, when to give, when to receive, when to rest, when to be active, you know, knowing what each sensation means. If I'm feeling a little bit, you know, if my body is feeling weaker or dizzier, then I actually need to bring in more nourishment. So I need to go outside, I need to ground, I need to do qigong, I need to do some yoga, I need to do something that's going to move the energy that's making me feel tired, you know, because that's what it is. It's asking to release. It's not that we're actually tired, it's that it needs to release. So it's those types of things that I'm going to be really aware of, especially with having 2.5 hours of kung fu on Sunday, which will be the 3rd day. So yeah, we're gonna see how that goes, because when you have done 3 days dry fasting, and like I say, I'm not an expert at this. I've not done this long enough for my body to really, you know, I get better every time. I get better at it every time. I get more energy every time. My body remembers quicker, faster every time, but I'm by no means breatharian yet. I'm no means an expert at it yet. So I will be very transparent and honest with you each day, because I think that's what it's about, you know. Let's not set these false pretenses. We're not here to prove anything to one another. So yeah, I'm curious as to how my body will feel tomorrow, especially after having a workshop tonight, and then tomorrow being out all day, and then Sunday with 2.5 hours of kung fu, which is great movement, but it's incredibly intense movement. So I'm a bit curious to see what that's going to look like. So yeah, I look forward very much to tomorrow's video. Ask your questions, let me know your questions. Let me know what you want to talk about. And I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow. Lots of love. Bye for now.